Alright, so here we are with Higurashi. Um, we last left off, um, learning, getting, not quite interrogated, but talked to from, Uishi, a detective or cop or some such, who, was looking for help trying to figure out the case of, our photographer friend, who died by scratching out his own throat, which was very bizarre. And he wanted help trying to figure out who it was, and not the Oyashi-sama's curse or thereabouts. So he talked to us, gave us details about the case, asked us for help, see if we could just inform him of anything we could find out. Was what it was. And some more shenanigans in our club, playing Clue, things like that. It's starting to get odd. I'm not sure. Sorry. I believe this is us questioning what our friends kind of know about it. We pretended to be asleep and overheard some of their conversation, which was odd. Her answer was a lot like when she refused to tell me about the murder at the dam. I was saddened by her denial and felt a little bit of anger. I'm their friend, aren't I? Friends don't keep secrets from their friends, do they? Though I do appreciate that they kept that unsettling curse thing from me. But if everyone is worried about it, I'd rather be worried with them. That's what it means to be friends, right? For a moment, I wondered just what kind of face I was making just then, with these mixed feelings of sadness and annoyance. Keiichi-kun, you're making a scary face. Why is it? Why? It was probably exactly the kind of face Rena said it was. It appeared my grim expression had frightened her. Sorry. I was really looking forward to club today. I'm just feeling down about it. Oh yeah, and we played Clue and they had our names on the cards. And we found a card that had the name Satoshi. We asked about it, and Rena didn't know. Not sure, sorry. Which is odd. Very suspect. Sorry, I was really looking forward to the club today. I'm just feeling down about it. I rustled Rena's hair. Let's go home. Dragging that awkward mood with us, we headed home. I wonder why. Why have I been getting this dumb feeling lately? I didn't know anything. I had nothing to worry about. I was just enjoying my everyday life. My long, outstretched shadow gave no answer to my naive inquiry. Keiichi-kun, are you tired, maybe? Maybe? Rena timidly questioned the reason behind my mood. I'm sure my expression made the situation even more unsettling. You think so? Yeah. You seem to have been a little out of it ever since this morning. Maybe a cold? Physically, I was pretty sure I was in perfect health. May not seem like it, but I've had perfect attendance since elementary school. Rena continued on since I didn't give her an answer. It could be that the fatigue from moving has finally caught up to you. It's completely different from when from where you used to live, after all. Of course, you've gotten tired, since there's so much you need to get used to and remember. Maybe that's it. Yeah. It has to be. Rena was also like that at first, too. I can tell, you know? You know? I wondered if Rena also experienced a slight bit of alienation last year that I was feeling right now. Thinking so, I felt that she was the only one who could understand how I felt. I'd like to hear about when you first came to Hinamizawa. How was it? Feeling I had been drawn into the conversation, her face suddenly brightened. It was the same as Keiichi-kun. I didn't know the villagers' names at all. Mi-chan and the rest were all very kind, so I wasn't lonely, but I did still feel a little out of place. Rena told me all the details of when she had moved here. All of her first acquaintances and surprises, worries, and good times. So, Satoko got you too? Yeah. There was a thumbtack put on my chair. Poke. Then with that, yeah. That really takes me back. When were you invited into the club? The first day? Nah. There was no club at the beginning. It was formed partway through. One day, she said we should stay after and hold a big game tournament. Come to think of it, Mion did say she was the first club president. Now I get it. This is a secret, but Mi-chan used to be really bad at the beginning. She'd never win. Mion? Really? I can't even imagine that. She had to do most of the penalties that she came up with. Seriously, don't tell. I can't believe Mion was like that. So, she gradually transformed into a monster who used any means necessary to win during that time. Mion is at her best when she's fighting dirty. I began making more friends besides Mi-chan after that, but yeah, it might have only been since you moved here that I had finally felt like I had gotten used to it here. I guess Rena had also been left in the dark about Oyashiro-sama when she had just moved here. I guess when they finally told me about Oyashiro-sama, I'd be considered one of them. I wonder when I'll finally be considered one of them. Did you say something? No, sorry. Just talking to myself. Keiichi-kun, you're silly. Rena was poking fun and laughing at me, and I couldn't help but laugh as well. But I suddenly stopped. Then, after making up my mind, I spoke. Hey, Rena. Is there something that everybody is keeping from me? Huh? No, not at all. You're lying, aren't you? Rena suddenly stopped. Her expression was cold and intense. What do you mean by that, Keiichi-kun? Her tone was still the same cheery and light-hearted one as before. You are, aren't you? Keeping something from me? After understanding what I meant, her expression grew even more intense. Seeing that face, I regretted saying something so rash. But she came back at me in a way I didn't expect. Well then, Keiichi-kun, aren't you keeping something from us? Huh? Her tone didn't change, It was the first time I'd seen this expression from Rena. As how her gaze pierced through me, I couldn't believe this was the same Rena. Aren't you? Lies or secrets. Aren't you? You are. Secrets. She didn't actually say that part, but she looked as if she did. The incident with Tomitake-san and how I felt alienated from the group. Even without having to think about it, there were things I knew that I felt guilty about. But I didn't tell everyone about what happened with Tomitake-san, to be considerate. Hello. You came at an interesting point. I was keeping it a secret, just the same way they didn't tell me about Oyashiro-sama. Then, aren't we even? No, I'm not. No lies. Nor secrets. Liar. Her answer was instant and it shook me. Rena stared as if burrowing through me. Hello, Nightmare. Welcome, welcome. Watching me, like a hawk. Why would you say I'm lying? Didn't you say that you were called into the teacher's room yesterday during the club meeting, Keiichi-kun? I know. You didn't go to the teacher's room. I swallowed hard. How's it going? It's going kind of creepy at the moment. It clearly wasn't a bluff. She knew what happened. The teacher said you had a guest, didn't she? But you didn't talk at the entrance. You talked inside the car near the school gate. With some man we don't know. Rena knew everything. She knew that I was called out by Oishi-san, and that I heard about the incident with Tomitake-san as well. Did she know all of it? Exactly who was that man? I don't know him. Why did someone you don't know have business with you? I want to know that myself. Then what did you talk about? It has nothing to do with you guys. It was a lie. Rena's scream echoed through the trees, sending frightened birds into the air. I couldn't exhale the deep breath I had just taken. No, it was like I wasn't allowed to exhale. It was here I first realized. The person in front of me, she wasn't Rena Ryugu. Then, who was it that was standing before me now? Who had assumed Rena Ryugu's appearance? I held my breath for so long I could feel myself suffocating. Right? And then she made a facial expression that Rena normally might have made. It didn't matter that it was Rena's usual smile. It chilled me to the bone. She drew closer to me. I felt her breath against my face. It wasn't the least bit exciting. Whoever this was with Rena's face was going to chew my nose right off. I cowered as I imagined that. Then, she smirked as if she was able to see right through me. We also have secrets. Just like how Keiichi-kun has secrets. It was Rena's usual smile, but her eyes were still like that of a hawk's. Bringing her face close enough to mine to almost bump into my nose, she kindly persuaded me. I couldn't nod or shake my head. This person standing in front of me, this person who looked like Rena, frightened me to my core. I was terrified knowing that she could hear the sound of me swallowing nervously. After what felt like an eternity, after a long, empty silence, she finally spoke. Let's go. It's getting chilly. It was Rena again. Smiling at me once more, she started walking as if nothing at all had happened. When I was released from her gaze, my legs gave out from under me, and I slumped onto the ground. I wasn't able to lift a finger until Rena was out of sight. Who was that? I felt cold. My body was drenched in sweat. I was finally able to form a coherent thought and ask myself once again, who was that person who looks like Rena Ryugu? Higurashi when they cry. Welcome to Hinamizawa. Well, that was unsettling. Guys, I think something might be up. Uh-huh. Because, yeah, it's... Okay, so this is the first episode, first chapter, whatever you want to call it. This is the first chapter, and we've got like 7 others to go. And something very, very blatantly bizarre has just happened in the first one. So obviously it's not just a simple question of who done it. It's Rena's like hella suspicious right now. So I'm wondering what the hell's gonna go on. Alright, yeah. Anyway, I was out of it and couldn't bring myself to do anything until dinner except stare blankly into space. That clock has no hands. There's that clock. The clock right about here, up top, has no hands on it. It's just a square. Sorry. Was I terrified from Rena going off on me? No, that's not right. That was someone else who only looked like Rena. Then, who could it have been? It was a dreadful feeling, knowing that that was someone else, not Rena. So tomorrow, I shouldn't have a problem talking to Rena like I usually do. That thought was strangely comforting. I concluded that I should just calm down and clear my head, though those thoughts continued swirling around my mind. Any theories, ideas? Well, Papa Visual also game. School Days. Unfamiliar with that one. Doki Doki's along the same lines. Yeah, no problem. We go off on tangents all the time here. But I'll get to the ideas and theories in just a sec. Visual novels are basically an improved book. So instead of just having words, you have graphics, sound, audio, music, and such as well. There's rarely many options, depending on which one you go. But yeah, visual novels are basically just a very well-told story. Higurashi, this one, and Umineko, these ones here, are very long, very in-depth ones. Another one I might suggest would be Steins Gate. That's actually a really good one. That would be a very simple and correct statement for some of them. Some of them have choices. You walk up to a girl, do you say hello or walk on by? Click one, and then you would say, if you like walk on by, you've now snubbed her. And you would, one of the gaming terms is you raised a flag. You've now given a you hate this lady flag. And then do that enough, and then something else will happen, like she'll start plotting your demise or some crazy bullshit like that. Anime adaptation is not quite the same as the game. I haven't seen the anime, but I know it's only so long. The novel is a lot better, I think. There's also Fate Stay Night, which is kind of a it's similar to like The Legend of Zelda. It's one everybody knows about. Not everyone has played it, but anybody in the visual novel scene has kind of heard of that one, especially with the Fate Go bullshit going on right now. But yeah, if you want, I can give you a couple of recommendations. There's also the Phoenix Wright series, which is technically a visual novel. You can see dude in blue shirt over there, Edgeworth over here, as well as Valhalla. This face right here is Dorothy. Danganronpa, two of the faces there. We've got Doki Doki, the pink hair up there, and the purple hair, top left corner. Yeah, Umineko, Beatrice, right by the corner, and Princess Guard, right on the far side. Yeah, I do have Doki Doki playthrough if you want to go through it. A couple different endings. I got the Yuki ending, I think. Though it got weird, and I'm not quite sure what the official version of it was. I should look at doing some of the other endings, maybe. Maybe not on stream, but myself. Oh yeah, I've got a YouTube channel. Same name. Might be a bit hard to find, but just, yeah, look at my username as is, and you should be able to find me. Yeah, I started uploading a while back during episode 3 or 4 of Umineko, and been pretty consistent till then. Code Geass in the top right? No. The top right corner. My screen, this is my right, but I have to point to the left to show you. Even better, yeah. It's I did do a stream on Steins Gate back in the day. That was actually before I met you guys. It was on the laptop here. But yeah, the top left corner, or top right corner, kind of purplish hair with the blindfold. That would be Ryder from the game Steins Gate. And oh, jeez, one's somewhere around here. Where'd you get to? There she is. I wonder what happened with her. This is what she looks like. I picked this up in Germany. So, there we go. Leave her right a bit. Sitting right there. Mao. No. But yeah, the one next to her with the red hair, the corner bit, just a bit to the side. She's from Persona, which is not a visual novel. The only one not on the screen that is one. But yeah, that's some of it. I got some more recommendations. I can give you some, but not an overly large amount. But yeah, Steins Gate, you just can't go wrong with. But I think you need to start with Steins Gate, the normal one, not Zero or Elite or whatever. Those are after you learn the first one in prequels and stuff. Yeah, it's I picked it up in Germany on a Comic-Con trip with my viewers. Yeah, I am currently in America, northeast Washington State. So that was quite literally around the world for me to get there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it was mostly just for like the weekend and just a trip to visit the world a bit. Spent all my money doing that. I kind of went broke for it. And I'm currently recovering. Just as I get some money, I'm going to be spending it again to do something. Such is life. But yeah, it's traveling. Let me rephrase. Being in those areas is really fun. The process of traveling to those areas is not quite so fun. It was like a 20-something hour plane ride. That's not fun. That's a very long ride. Very, very, very long. And there's nothing to do. But yeah. Aside from that minor aspect, traveling is pretty cool. You see different things, different aspects of stuff. But yeah, going back to the question of if I have any theories, I'm gonna be blunt and say I'm pretty damn sure this little group of kids is involved in the murder, if not the actual perpetrators. They give off hella crazy vibes. especially Ren, after what we just saw. Especially their devious nature with the game, which potentially is brought about because of a requirement to keep quiet about the murder or some such. That's kind of my gut feeling right now. Especially also knowing the author of the last game, and there's just murders abound. And I've got no specifics other than a gut feeling it's them. No idea how, no idea specifically what that means, but because this is the first episode and I have that feeling, and there's 8 episodes, there are 7 episodes after this, I get the feeling that's actually not that big of a revelation. I'm betting something more is going to happen, but I'm going to guess it's going to be trying to play both sides of the field. Like, Oishi's trying to stop it, they're trying to do stuff, and we're caught in the middle. We're trying to figure out. That's my bet on what's going to happen, but again, it's like, I get the feeling there's something that seems too obvious, but not. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. And yeah, it's like, we'll see. Because this first episode, and I'm like not even halfway through it. I can actually keep track of how far I am through this game because I got achievements that conclude on every chapter, and I'm on 5 of 14, whatever that means. Only one way to find out. Absolutely. And we'll be finding out one way or the other. Finally, I returned to my senses as I heard my mother calling out to me from the bottom of the stairs. Keiichi? It's a call from the bookstore. Isn't that Mion's uncle's shop? Bookstore? Can't think of why they'd be calling me. I went downstairs and picked up the receiver anyway. Oh. She had an uncle's shop, which was... I don't think she specified. Apologies for calling so late at night. It's me, Oishi of the Okinomiya bookshop. Oishi-san? Oh, it's Oishi-san. Sorry. Since your parents picked up, I said I was from the bookstore. It puts people off when I say I'm a police officer. Fair enough. Oishi-san was, in his own way, rather courteous. Even so, I didn't want my parents hearing me talk to the police. I brought the cordless phone with me as I dashed back to the room on the 2nd floor. That phone's not cordless, that phone has a cord. Sorry for calling so late. That phone number on the piece of paper I gave you yesterday was the old number. My apologies. Can you copy on the number I'm about to give you? Yeah. Okay. He gave me the number for his direct line as I wrote it down. I thought that was the end of it. But he began making pointless small talk, and it was pretty hard to hang up. So how's it been, Maibara-san? Did anything strange happen recently? No. Hello. Welcome. You just missed the crazy bit, but we might be going over it here. I see. This was the real reason. He really beat around the bush there. His adult conversational skills left me slack-jawed. Are you from around here, Oishi-san? Yeah, I am. Born and raised in Okinomiya. He's from around here. He might know. Oishi-san, do you know what this Onikakushi thing is about? I believe that's when somebody suddenly vanishes because they've been abducted by a demon. Hello. It's a special saying from around here. It has the same meaning as spirited away, like everyone else says. Whereas my friends would say they didn't know when I asked, this older man gave me a direct answer. Yep, just a bit. It made me a bit happy that he answered me directly, without trying to hide anything. Hinamizawa was... not sure if I should tell you this, Maebara-san. Don't try to play this off. If you're not going to talk, then I'm not going to tell you anything. No. That's not what I meant. It's just... it may make you feel bad. You see, long ago, Hinamizawa was feared as the village where demons reside. Demons? By demons, you mean those pitchfork-carrying things in hell? Localization. More like human-eating monsters. They'd go down to villages, snatching people up and gobbling them down. That kind of tale. Demons snatching up people is what this Onikakushi really means. They said that the curse and being demoned away happened together. What does that mean? I already knew about the mysterious deaths happening 5 years in a row, but I didn't know there were people disappearing from those same 5 years. The curse and being demoned away happened together? First time I've heard of that. Is that how it is, Maebara-san? That's what I want to know. I heard Rena and Mion talking. They said that if it was really Oyashiro-sama's curse, then both the curse and demoning away would happen. Oishi-san began hemming and hawing on the other end of the receiver. Maybe something about that came to mind? Maebara-san. Do you know the first incident? The murder by dismemberment? Yeah. One of the 6 perpetrators is still on the run, right? Hypothetically, what if he isn't on the run, but was demoned away? It was an outrageous hypothesis from Oishi-san. The incident 4 years ago was a particularly ghastly one. The police already knew the perpetrators, so they posted tons of wanted posters for his face on them. They stalked out various locations and investigated every possible escape route he had. But after 4 years, there wasn't even a hint of where he might be, unless the police were completely incompetent. It is possible. Even if it was an outrageous hypothesis, I couldn't simply laugh it off. Then what about the incident the next year, when the man who supported the project and his wife both died in an accident? Well, actually, it was only the husband who died in an accident. His wife's body never surfaced. Unless we find the body, then it's considered a missing person by law. At the time of the incident, with the river below the cliff being muddy rapids, the police divers had searched every branch off the main stream of the river for dozens of miles, but in the end they weren't able to find her body. But that's just them not being able to find the body. She's still dead, right? Isn't it different from her being demoned away? We cannot say someone is dead without their body. Until a certain number of years pass, by law, she's treated as still alive. I'm not sure if it was right to call that being demoned away. The wife is missing. At least that part was reality. How about the 3rd year? The Shinto priest died of illness, and his wife committed suicide? Maebara-san. That's actually the exact same scenario. The wife had supposedly thrown herself into the bottomless marsh deep in the forest around Hinamizawa, meaning it's all circumstantial evidence. They simply found her suicide note in front of the marsh. A diver was able to recover a few of her articles, but they weren't able to find a body. The investigative headquarters believed that she had faked her death and was still alive somewhere. I'm not sure if we could refer to these cases as being demoned away. It's just as you said. Every year, one person does go missing. The incident this year, the woman with Tomitaki-san has gone missing. Then, what about the incident with the housewife beaten to death? Who went missing? I believe the perpetrator was caught, right? Yeah, we arrested him. He already had a criminal record from before. He admitted to the crime while being questioned about a different incident. But, well, you see, after he was arrested, a child from the victim's home went missing. It's still under investigation as to whether the disappearance had anything to do with the crime. But you said you caught him, right? Did he have an accomplice? No idea. It was most likely only the one perpetrator. Moreover, we can't even check now. Because, while under investigation, that man, he died in his holding cell. He swallowed a spork and choked to death. It's not known whether it was an accident or suicide. Meaning, for the last 5 years, there's always one person who dies and one who goes missing? That's about right. No, actually, I'm surprised as well. I never realized they had that in common. I couldn't believe that this could help lead to the closing of those incidents. It was just something they had in common. Could it be that those demoned away have something in common? How grisly. Yeah, I'm assuming so too. Sporks are not something most people tend to swallow. Oishi-san mumbled as he seemed to be thinking about it. So I summarized the events. The first year was the dam employee. Second year was the wife of a dam project supporter. Third was the wife of a Shinto priest. Fourth year was the victim's family's child. And the fifth year was the victim's girlfriend, I guess. It doesn't seem like there's anything that connects them. With the exception of the first year, wives and girlfriends, those do stand out. It does seem like there are a lot. And that means the fourth year's victim's child was different. It would have really stood out if it were all married couples. Except it's not just married couples, but parents and children as well. Come to think of it, I believe Tomitaki-san also told me the younger brother is alive and has moved, if I recall correctly. The child that went missing in the fourth year, who were they? Apparently, he was quite mature, 1 year older than you. His name was Satoshi Hojo-san. Satoshi? Huh? Satoshi? I remembered that name. Didn't they tell me Satoshi transferred out last year? He was at your school up until last year. Didn't they tell you anything about him? Come to think of it, when I transferred in, I believe they said my seat belonged to a recent transfer student. Then, where I sat once belonged to the one who was demoned away. It was his seat? I recalled the cold sensation that came from that desk. It made my hair stand on end. This string of mysterious deaths. No, Oyashiro-sama's curse. I now knew how it connected to me. That chilling sensation. It was the feeling of Oyashiro-sama's cursing the back of my neck. Oyashiro-sama's curse, huh? Could Oyashiro-sama's curse really exist? In all honesty, I was beginning to believe it, and I was scared. That was why I wanted to say it was a plot crafted by man and not the work of a curse. But the more I dug into it, the less likely that seemed. No, the more I dug, the more mysterious it became. If I kept digging, eventually I'd reach the point where I'd learn something I really shouldn't know. You already do, a bit. to either be none the wiser or to seek an answer I may regret. Which one would I be happier with? Happier. That's an interesting word to choose. Maybe it'll be next time. My execution can only be delayed for 1 year. That was when I remembered. Rena. Rena said she may be the next victim of the curse. You mean Rena Ryugu-san? She transferred in last year and she's your classmate, isn't she? These incidents really might be a bit too disturbing for a girl. She's not just scared, is she? No. It wasn't that. She said it might be her next. She said it in a way that made me think she had a concrete reason behind it. It felt like she was convinced. Almost as if, you could say, she was frightened. Her sudden change in demeanor. That someone who looked like Rena, but wasn't Rena. That might be unrelated. It's just unrelated. I don't think so. That's not normal. All the strange things that I felt from Yena today came back to me. I see. Then I'll be doing a bit of investigating on this end. Please continue observations of Ryugu-san, Maibara-san. Are you asking me to keep Rena under surveillance? That's not what I mean, Maibara-san. I just want you to watch out for your friend, so she doesn't end up the next victim. At that moment, just as my mouth was agape because I was so impressed with his mature, clever way with words. Knock, knock. A sudden knock at the door sent my heart racing. In an instant, I had pointlessly covered up the end of the receiver. Eiichi, get the door, please! On the other side of the door, I heard my father's oddly upbeat voice. What could it be? It's so late. Sorry, my dad just came in. Can we leave it at this for tonight? Yeah. My apologies again for calling so late. If you find out anything else, please let me know. I'll tell you if I make any progress on this end. Well then, have a pleasant evening. Eiichi, hurry up and open the door. Daddy's got his hands full. Daddy. What is Dad doing? I'd stayed in the same position while on the phone the whole time, so my joints were aching. When I opened the door, I saw my father was standing there with a tray. On that tray, cookies and 2 cups of black tea. A fairly fancy spread for our household. Cookies and tea, huh? What are we, British? There's even sugar and lemon slices on the side. Everything you could ask for. This was quite the show of hospitality. What's going on, Dad? What's all this for? Come now, don't play around, Keiichi. I'm coming in. Dad was in high spirits and had a smirk on his face. But for my entire life, I've never seen him act this hospitable. What had gotten into him? So, what were you talking about? I jumped. It's not something I had to keep from my father, but how could I explain to him I was talking to a detective? I'm assuming he was, this late at night. Nothing much. Just a friend. I don't mean the phone. She was here, wasn't she? Rena-chan. She wasn't here. Come now, don't try to keep it from me. She just came over to play. You two were chatting away, so I thought I'd bring some tea. But looks like I just missed her. Lovely. I had no idea what Dad was talking about. But a cold sweat dripped down my back. How long were we talking? I went upstairs about half after. So it's close to an hour, I guess? You saw her come up to the second floor? Yeah, I did. I also told her that your room was the door down the hall up the stairs. Rena came to my house about an hour ago. Dad met her at the door and called out to me on the second floor. I probably didn't hear him because I was so focused on my conversation with Oishi-san. I didn't reply, but he knew I was in my room, so he had her come inside. Then told her my room was on the second floor. She thanked my dad and went upstairs. Then about an hour passed. She passed by my dad just as he was bringing up tea and left. She came upstairs and about an hour passed. Then passed by my dad and returned home. Then after she came upstairs, and until she left, where was Rena? There's only a short hallway between my room and the stairs, meaning Rena had, for about an hour, in the hall. No, she couldn't have been standing in front of my door all that time. The door to my room wasn't particularly thick. You could easily hear everything being said inside. All of the unsettling and unguarded things I spoke to Oishi-san about began rushing through my head. Honey, don't tease him. More importantly, you need to clean up your studio. It's a mess again. Mom yelled up at Dad from downstairs. Dad left the tray with me and went downstairs with a disappointed chortle. I followed my dad out of the room with my eyes. I looked down at the floor around the doorway where Rena might have stood all that time. Just now, as I was talking to Oishi-san, with my back turned, Rena was standing a mere 6 feet away the whole time. All that time, in this dimly lit doorway, what did she see? What did she hear? For what reason? As the steam from the 2 teacups ominously wafted and twisted, the aroma of black tea filled my room. Yep. Higurashi when they cry. Welcome to Hinamizawa. Once he started talking about very topical things, I got the impression that lies. That Rena would be standing out the window just staring at him, and we'd look up and see her or some such. But that door is actually a lot creepier. She was literally right there. See, this is what I mean when it's kind of obvious something is definitely up. Notice from the police chief. Normal people don't really do that thing. So something is most definitely up. What the hell are we looking at? What is that thing? I know those are lights, but what's that circle thingy? Oh, whatever. July 1st, 1982. To Departments 1 through 12. Prefectural Police Headquarters. Director General X. To the Chief Constable and all facility managers. Regarding cases situated in Hinamizawa Village, notice. As cases in Shishibone City, Hinamizawa Village has been reported by certain sections of mass media. It has drawn global attention, which is causing serious repercussions for the local residents. This has become a very serious situation. To protect the livelihood and prosperity of the residents, the following notice has been issued. 1. Designate the following criminal investigations as classified. Okinomiya Station, 1982, case number X. Hinamizawa Village housewife murder, dated June X. Okinomiya Station, 1982, case number X. Hinamizawa Village student disappearance, dated June X. 2. Non-disclosure of information. Okinomiya Station, 1979, case number X. Hinamizawa Village site foreman murder, dated June X. Shira Station 1980, case number X. Shirakawa Natural Park Falling Incident, dated June X. Okinomiya Station 1981, case number X. Hinamizawa Village Shinto Priest's Wife Disappearance, dated June X. 3. Requesting self-restraint from each organization concerning the release of sensitive information. Please see attached reference materials 1, 2, and 3. Management, X Prefecture Police Headquarters. Internal line, X. Police Affairs Department, XX. Yeah. And, also, my mind tends to think of, like, bad case scenarios. Most of the time, like all the ones I had for, Umineko didn't come true. I hit a couple of them that I was able to call. But I always tend to think of, don't do that, there's somebody in the room, or like, no, don't split up, that's a bad idea, stuff like that. And so, when it was Oishi, he told his parents, oh, it's Oishi-san. Bad thing to do, if you're trying to keep a secret. Reveal who you're talking to. Then he went upstairs and started talking about everything that he did. Bad thing to do. Without, like, checking your surroundings. And so it's like, somebody's gotta be listening in on this. This is just, it's gotta be going. Pessimism so that you're pleasantly surprised when things go right. So I tend to do a lot. Potentially, at the rate this is going, my pessimism and paranoia is probably going to be more accurate than not. So yeah. So I also tend to have like crackpot ideas, especially with like Umineko. I was like, they're probably like under the bed. That they're doing over there. Don't do this kind of thing. It's like, oh, they weren't there. It's not right, but still something's up. Something's up. I can't pinpoint it, but something is up. And then it turns to be mostly unrelated because there's something bigger was up with it. And so I just knew something was. That was not a conversation that could have been secret. So yeah, just playing the level, going with what we know at the moment. We talked to Rena. She knows we're lying about something, because of our conversation in the street. She went really, really creepy crazy there, on the street for a minute. We went home, told our parents we were talking to Oishi. We didn't tell our friends, but we told our mother when she answered the phone. We told Oishi our suspicions and everything, and Rena was sitting there listening. She now knows our secrets. That's a very, very, very poor position to be in. Also, this group that we're playing, a group of friends, are going by the rules. If you apply the club's societal rules to everything in life, which I think might happen, do everything you can to win. That's not a very promising opponent to go against. So this is going to be very weird. Now I'm wondering how school is gonna just go up to school next tomorrow. Yeah. Hello, Keiichi-kun. Did you have a pleasant evening? Hey. Oh, something is up. Something is definitely going to go horribly wrong. I don't know how, but not a good sign for what we got right now. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. Oh, before we get anywhere. And then the trope of, it was just a dream. It's nothing to worry about. No, you idiot, stop. No, that is definitely something to worry about. Worry about it, please. Don't just shrug off something as significant as that. Okay. What's wrong?
Keiichi,
Keiichi, you don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. Shit. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination, and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. I took some medicine and got a good day of rest. I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Bing pong. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena. Rena-chan came to get you. What are you gonna do? You're gonna take the day off? Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry. And I'll go send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived, I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I have experienced that. That is when you know you really needed sleep. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would be back for dinner, but might be a bit late. On the note, it said, "The insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Normally, I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Erie Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. Something is very suspicious about this. This feels off. This feels very off. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. Maebara-san, please make your way to the examination room. There's a lot of artwork for this place. Why is there a lot of artwork for this place? After half-heartedly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." He gave me a shot. A shot and 3 days worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been given lately, then it was worth it. Colds don't usually get shots unless it's a vaccine, but that doesn't really work against the cold, so yeah. Maybe it's penicillin? I don't know. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. It's an interesting little alligator there. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, if it just wasn't for that word. It must have been an Onikakushi. I wonder. He was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season. That young one with that big camera. Did you know they were getting along pretty well? Were they talking about Tomitake-san? It's a small town. Yes. I could feel my ears perking up. I don't know about that. But you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Takano-san? That woman was Tomitake-san. And she worked at this clinic? Okay. Oyashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oyashiro-sama's curse. Shadow. But of course, Oyashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. A simple answer would be to leave Hinamizawa, but it's not necessarily an easy answer. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned into a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far in the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved farther off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Maebara-san! Good day to you! It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. Yeah. What's up today? School on break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I was just gonna lie down after going home anyway. I didn't really have a cold. I expect you'd rather avoid using one of the local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive. Is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. I went with Oishi-san, riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connected the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. This is where Tomitaki-san died. They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Tomitaki-san. Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you see in comics all the time? Where there's a drug that doesn't leave any traces after being consumed? It exists. Succinyl alcohol or something or other. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomitaki-san to react like that. Then, you're saying the police concluded Tomitaki-san just died from the curse? I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of the curse to be disassociated from Tomitaki-san's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. Coal. Yeah. Yeah, but that was a weird word. Chemical, scientific words get really weird with pronunciations. And I know they're very specific. Dioxide, monoxide, oxol, or specific phrasing. I learned that at one point and have prominently forgotten them. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. But putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved other humans. And it's that bit right there that makes me think the school group. Because, well, technically speaking, that's literally the only group of people I know. So, therefore, the only ones I can come to a conclusion on. Other than random people, but that doesn't make much sense. Unquestionably, other humans. That made me a bit relieved. Not me. There we go. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Oishi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be children here in the middle of a weekday. 2, please. I'll make do with non-smoking. This way, please. When you're ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Oishi-san in the booth. So, what do you think? Aren't the waitresses' outfits here cute? Did he just bring him to a special cafe? A maid or cosplay or some such cafe? Huh? Well, I guess? The shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses than the food. He brought a kid to a maid cafe. Alright. Good judge of character, man. Good. Yeah, okay. Uh-huh. Oishi-san, you're leering. Hmm? Am I really? Lovely. Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. What the hell is with these cups? We've got this weird slanted one thingy there. It's probably to pour something on mostly. And then look at this cup up here. It's like mini. Oh, maybe that's just. Oh, they stack. I'm overthinking things. They cut off the top of it so it looks shorter than it is. Okay. Never mind. I'm being just overly paranoid about random shit. Ignore me. Yesterday, we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah. That it was the village of man-eating demons, or something like that. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Alright. Oishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onikakushi, or Ogre's Abyss. What a lovely name. Yeah, let's all move down to Ogre's Abyss. Onikakushi. That's quite the name. The name is still around. Mother. Alright. Typo, I guess? Alright. The name is still around. If you had a grandmother, she'd be really old. But the Japanese do live a bit longer, so we'll go with whichever. The name is still around. The marsh where the Shinto priest's wife drowned herself is still called Ogre's Abyss. It's said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous marsh. And you see, it appears they were both feared and revered. A respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was a kind of deification. A village of inhuman creatures. It seems the demons were Sennin, or mountain-dwelling mystics of sort. Sennin. Villagers with incurable illness would be taken to the Ogre's Abyss to be healed, for example. Even if we are calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or Sennin would be a more apt description. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons. According to the story my grandma told me, as payment for treating the son's illness, let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. Let us eat the mother who brought him here. If that's the case, then the son that really doesn't fit. Unless he had a son? But no, he couldn't have been. The price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all the villagers of Onikakushi, the demons, chased, surrounded, and captured them. Uh-huh. The entire village, apparently. That's quite a frightening thing to imagine. Yeah. In the end, it seems both the mother and son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell that tale. Yeah? There are plenty of old fables like this. There are. In contrast to the ghastly tale, Moishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. Angel Mort, huh? But, well, there are quite a few other tales where the demons from Onikakushi band together to capture their prey. I recalled that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. Odd thought. Tuck that away for later. They would always hunt down a single person, and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. So what does this all mean? It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities, in other words. What happens if you break the rule? Well, they're man-eating demons, after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the entire village was in on the crime. Yeah, just about. Just a little. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die when there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then, Noishi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the entire village or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes? What do you think, Maebara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say that last part. He waited for the waitresses to finish pouring coffee before speaking. $2 for a slice of cake? Yes. Yeah. He waited for the waitresses to finish pouring him before speaking. Last year, I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Oishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Maebara-san, I had a bit, really just a little bit, okay, of background checking done on them. Ooh. If Oishi-san had said this to me before, I would have gotten angry at him for calling my friends into question. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid. Maebara-san, if you feel that it's stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I'd ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside of me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could muster. Oishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki-san. Altercation. multiple altercations. Oishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. On the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? Their daughter was with them at the time. Her name is Satoko Hojo-san. Huh? Satoko, meaning Satoko? Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down. The Shinto priest and his wife, who died in the third year, you see, their daughter is Rika Furude-san. Rika-chan was the housewife who died in the fourth year. You know already, don't you? It was the step-aunt of Satoko Hojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody, as she had lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way from my feet. The one who disappeared the fourth year, by the way. He was Satoko-san's older brother. What? Wait, just a second. It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. But Oishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard. All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That just has to be a coincidence. Maibara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mion, Satoko, Rika-chan. So what if they're connected? You're telling me all of my friends? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Ren is different, isn't she? Ren isn't connected with the victims at all. Rena Ryugu-san was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true she hadn't directly met any of the victims. He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went to her school building and broke all of the windows. Rena did that? She broke all the windows at her school? That same spacey Rena had... I couldn't even imagine it. It seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was given weeks of counseling and medication. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I'd heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those matched Rena's easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up. And quite a bit at that. What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There could be anything more for me to regret. There couldn't be. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why had Rena spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa? Seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. Oh, that's right. She's not an outsider. Hmm? According to the residency register, the Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. They moved to Ibaraki just as Rena-san entered elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Maebara-san, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I know about Rena. Then, how about the last victim? Tomitaki-san. Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, Maebara-san? Didn't you all spend the night of the festival together, quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush. We should get going. Maebara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I had completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Oishi-san said that. We got another glass of water and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? Depends. It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. Ba-dum. That big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. That does exist, yes, absolutely. I was certain that I heard Tomitaki-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really, just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop. It's not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Oishi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing, and I couldn't help. Everything Oishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, possibly know? By chance, if there was a reason for Oishi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I was part of Mion's circle of friends, who looked suspicious to Oishi-san. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. No. So, while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. So, Oishi-san, you suspect them, don't you? There's such a horrible trope. The old detectives, the old police officer, they're retiring. It's their last day. That's a huge red flag, man. Why are you telling me this? Hey. Now I'm worrying about you. So, Oishi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Oishi-san didn't really give a response. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job. One moment. That would be why. Stop that. This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job. Maebara-san, you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with, that's absurd. But in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year. So I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in the string of cases has been solved, so don't bring it up again. Or so I was told. This is the pressure that I'm facing. Pressure? From what? Someone in Hinamizawa. We've arrived. Is this fine? And after some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears. I won't mind if you just forgot everything I told you today. Oh yeah, sure. Easy. No problem at all. Just poof. It's gone. But I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Oyashiro-sama's curse this year. So, you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Maebara-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. He's actually really interesting. I'm sorry for throwing all this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I didn't really give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair, telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing, and I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it. I don't want to die. For some time, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind for the AC from the car. Higurashi when they cry. Welcome to Hinamizawa. Or rather, Ogre's Abyss. Well, I'm going to swap the shadows, see if you get into the conflict. Good luck. No, I'm with you. Just, you can believe in that. I'm totally with you. But yeah, it's one of the other things I keep thinking of is right now we have evidence of these people be crazy, and going under the assumption that they've done some really horribly shady shit. Thanks, Oishi. Yep. See you later. I'll contact you after I get murdered. No problem. I'll just sit there and haunt you. But looking at it from this perspective, yesterday we talked to Rena, and she called us out for being a liar. We went home. We talked to Oishi. She overheard that entire conversation and left. We then called sick the next day. She came to pick us up, but we just slept it off. And then we went to the hospital, got into Oishi-san's car, left for the day, and then got dropped off at the end of the day. Fair enough. Series of events. Look at it from the other perspective of Rena, for instance, just for her. She went to come talk to us and see if we were doing okay, seeing if we were playing the pessimist here, seeing if we did anything about her weird condition or anything that we talked about, keeping tabs on us. We called in sick. We avoided her. Fair enough. Not much she could do. Yes, I have a Discord. I really do need to fix that. Give me one sec. Got one somewhere here. Yeah. Somewhere in here. Nope, not you. There. I guess that works. That should be the one. But yeah, I used my updates there. Back on topic for a sec. But yeah, so we skipped out. We avoided Rena. Okay, but then her being potentially paranoid, and me being paranoid as well about them being paranoid. She kept an eye on us. She watched us because we know she sat by the door and watched us for an hour without making a sound. Yeah, hacking. I'm in. Well, welcome to the Discord. But yeah, I'm gonna try and look into creating a bot command for just type in the Discord thing and it'll spit out an invite. I know it can be done. I just gotta get around to doing it. But back to my theory, guys. Stop sidetracking me. You can keep doing it, but I'll lose my train of thought. So we avoided her, and she's being suspicious that she thinks we know, that she knows we know, or whatever that stuff. Mega 64 skit. And so, assuming she kept tabs on us and wanted to keep tabs on us after school, she saw us get into a car of the unknown man that has no relation to her, that we don't know who he is, spend the whole day, and then come back home. Oh yeah, nothing at all happened. Yes, nothing. We didn't talk to that guy for most of the day about things that aren't related to you. Not at all. And so, that does not put a good picture at all for us, if they saw any of that. Which I'd bet pretty significantly they did see at least some of it. Yeah, I know it can do things. I just got to do it. Yeah, I just got to actually get around doing it, which is, I procrastinate a lot. That's for a lot of this stupid shit. But yeah, and I guess that would be my YouTube channel as well. I'll give that a look-see. Yeah, it's forgive the quality of some of the earlier ones. I was using satellite during that time, I believe. Yeah, so I've upgraded. Anyway, continuing on with the story, at least for a little bit longer. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. Oh yeah, sure. If you want to, yeah, feel free. What would you need to do that? Well, we'll discuss it after the stream. But yeah, if you want to help out, I'll take it. Yeah, absolutely. I can do things. I'm just lazy with a lot of that shit, and forgetful. That's another one. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Yeah, see? It's one of the useful things about the Discord. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Hello, this is my bar residence. Oh, he's alive. Hello, mosh mosh. This is Mion. How you doing? I read that as mom, not Mion. So yeah, oh, how you doing? This is one of Keiichi's friends. Keiichi is resting now, but shall I put him on? Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry. Baka. You fell for it. Huh? Keiichi-chan! After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. I'm relieved that you seem well. I was really worried, you know? Satoko-chan was happy and said you got what you deserved. Reika-chan said, how unfortunate he's sick. Looks like everyone's making a big deal out of it. Well, you know. So, Kei-chan, is now a bad time to come pay you a visit? A visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them. So I'll bring you some. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry. Both Rena and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See ya. Be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Rena, but I guess if she was with Mion... Okay. I love mochi. Yeah. I don't think I've ever actually had it. My diet tends to be like 98% American food. I rarely go out and get anything different or exotic. So I should try that some more often. Of course, there's not much out here. I'll see. Yeah, my local grocery store is Walmart. Yeah, no. No. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. How are you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I did just that. Thank goodness you look well. I was worried. Sorry. I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looks like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. True friends. Maybe a bit crazy. Maybe. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. You don't say. To see my face appeared a bit sullen. Then, here, Keiichi-kun. These are the mochi Mi-chan's grandma's made. Rena held out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It was quite hefty. No, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mion. Yep. Ah, there's one that I made in there as well. I wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one. Is it the horribly misshapen one? This is Kei-chan's homework since we missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. Were you checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities? Yep, I'm looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. And what are you going to do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? Shenanigans. Mi-chan? We shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry. Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entranceway was a mess. Alright, let's get going. By the way, Kei-chan. Huh? What did you eat for lunch? A sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I had never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane that it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I... What the hell was that? That was my internet spike. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read too deep into it. So I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied. So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun? The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew that I had eaten at a restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. No. That seems pretty sincere. Maybe. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was. Seems you were in a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he? Flop. The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh? Keiichi-kun? Who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything? Not everything. How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Kei-chan, what did you talk about? It seems like you got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you, or Rena. You're very bad at lying. Isn't it a bit strange to hear names come up even though nobody asked about that? Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave, damn straight. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. Took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly. Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. That's true. We should both head back home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See ya, Kei-chan. Yeah. I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow. Alright? Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle, even after the low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about? No. Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all that could have been overheard from the beginning, when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that that was unnecessary. What was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oyashiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases. That's right, she probably couldn't hear his response, but they could hear our response. Occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may have been multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? Oh, what kind of nonsense? Nonsense, am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason, it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. When did I become such a pessimist? That's a good trait right now. Calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rena. I was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Calm down. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion is also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And, talking of not getting bored, rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing of the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi-san and Tomitake-san, when I was told about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then, hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oishi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. I shouldn't even have asked Tomitake-san about the past incidents on the night of the Watsunagashi. If I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. If I just hadn't... That's right. So that's why they murdered Tomitake-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably Onikakushi-san as well, for trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that is going to be... Both Tomitake-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Namizawa. Those guys should just fall to Oyashiro-sama's curse, and just... It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault. I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them, after all. Huh, that reminds me. I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club did delivery. That was something else. I picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed in the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this is quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, number 5 plump red bean paste and mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, they said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rena's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that, just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one is Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said her grandma made a ton of them and was able to give some out, if I remembered correctly. So that means 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Rena? She probably only made one, so she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning, the one Rena had made was this one. Hey! For a moment, I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright. My tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champ, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterward also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had one bite of Rena's. I'd probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset? Chew. Oh. Seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in my fingers and grabbed it. What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. I slammed it against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. Then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first, I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Rena's hair was still quite long, and it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of metallic sheen on one end of it. Ah, yes. There was a hole for where the thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well. Quite sharply. It really did look just like a sewing needle. What did I mean by looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer. But a voice inside me already knew, and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my fingers in the back of my throat and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was throbbing intensely. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with that mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Split. Plop. Splort. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out of the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat, or warning, or reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of these questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion, and others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by the negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. Higurashi, when they cry. Welcome to Hinamizawa. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. And alright, a drug that makes you kill yourself. And a threat. Hard to swallow, huh? Alright, bye-bye. Check the mochi you eat before you, try things. Might just save your life. Maybe. Take care, everyone.